So thank you guys so much. And over to you, Ben.
Well, thank you, Marielle. And a special thank you to Lisa, who includes us every month in every location. And we're really appreciative of that and our relationship with Ace and Ace by TSK. So big thank you to Lisa and Marielle for including us. Um, I will say that all questions should be put in the Q&A. I know Marielle and or Jeff or someone will be monitoring that. Um, we can stop along the way and ask any questions as we go. But all the big questions or anything specific to your own property, just hold to the end, and I would be happy to answer everybody's questions. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen here, and hopefully everybody can see my.
Looks good.
Good, awesome. Okay, so my name is Ben Friedman. For those of you that don't know me, many of you are familiar names. I want to say faces, but we're not in person, but names to me. So thank you for those of you that come out to support my vendor sponsors and I month in and month out. And to all the new people, you guys are going to love this a lot. And we hope to grow this thing, month and month over month. So thank you for attending. This is a 1 hour HR course for community association managers. We'll do it pretty quick in 40 minutes or so. I'm pretty sure no one's going to have a problem with that. But again, I will stick around for as many questions as you guys have. My contact information will be at the end on the last slide. Feel free to take a screenshot. If anybody wants the presentation shared to them, I can email it through Ace by TSK and they can push it out to whomever requests it. And as far as DBPR credits, it will go through your community association manager license number, and I would ask that you give us on or about a week for them to appear on the DBPR website. So all that housekeeping stuff is behind us, and let's get rocking here. So this course is called Installation Safety in a Condominium. It talks about best practices for CAMs, community association managers, and ensuring a safe and compliant installation process really with any project that you have going on at your property. Much of this stuff, like some of my other courses, really you can use for any type of building wide or cumbersome project at your property, and the information is valid for any or all of them. So again, many of you know me, and for those of you that don't, my name is Ben Friedman. I am the president and owner of CitiQuiet Windows and Doors. I've been here in South Florida since 2006, and I brought a window company down from the Northeast and grew it for them and had the opportunity to buy it from them in 2012. I am the president of the company. We do a lot of education and philanthropy, dealing with other business associate contractors, property managers, board members. We do a lot of work in the hospitality area as well, in hotels, and some government work. Well, really, really proud to say that we've been doing this for many years, and we always like to suggest that we be thought of as a resource. I don't care if it's windows and doors, although that would be my preference. But as a resource, you have a project coming up and it involves a remodel of your common area lobby, or of your, amenities deck, anything like that, elevator, any type of question you may have, and you feel comfortable with who we are as a company and as a brand to put our name and a business partner's name out there, please think of us as a resource. So we're centrally located here in Boca Raton. I'm in my office now. This is where our headquarters is. We also have an office in North Miami, in Fort Myers, and in Naples. So we do cover Southeast Florida, Southwest Florida, and then we sprinkle into the Tampa area, the Orlando area, some Pensacola stuff when we are asked and when a project makes sense for us to go there. We'll look at any project, as I said, as a resource. We'll provide budgets, we'll provide pricing, and if it makes sense for us to go there, and or the association to have us come there, we would be happy to contribute in any way possible. So, quick introduction. This course, I'm just going to minimize this. This course is the objective of this course is to provide community association managers with the knowledge and tools necessary to ensure safe installation practices. Windows, doors, paving, roofing, concrete restoration, painting, um, lobby renovation, hallway renovation, you name it. At the end of the day, the goal is to reduce the liability and the exposure of both the association, the members of it, and the contractor working in the building. We'll briefly cover some safety regulations. We'll go through some risk management strategies and best practices for overseeing the installation of different types of projects. Some of this is pertinent to windows and doors only, as I said. The importance of the installation safety in condominiums, obvious. We want to ensure resident safety. That's the number one thing. So proper installation practices to minimize the risk of accidents and injuries and ensuring the safety of all the residents. We do have regulatory compliance, adhering to the Florida safety regulations, OSHA, and building codes prevents legal issues and fines, right? That has to do with minimizing risk and liability and exposure. We also want to talk about how to protect your property, right? As a contractor, we need to understand that we can't just come in there with tractor trailers and just park them anywhere we want. We can't just come in there with containers and roll them across your pavement because it's going to rip it up. So there's correct installation practices to protect the building's components as well. And we want to ensure that. Obviously, we want to make sure that we're ready for a storm in the event of a project commencing or being underway. And then the last thing is we want to instill community trust. We want to demonstrate and a full commitment to building safety trust with the residents, with the property managers, and have a really good positive experience and continue our excellent reputation through community association management. So, first, Florida safety regulations and the building codes. We're going to talk about and go through a brief overview of relevant building codes and safety regulations. The Florida Building Code, also known as the FBC, is designed to ensure that all buildings in the state are safe, accessible, and sometimes energy efficient. It includes specific requirements for material design and construction to withstand Florida's unique climate changes, such as hurricanes. So we have two things that we conform to in the window and door world, as well as some other contractors like roofers, concrete restoration, plumbing, mechanical, where we either conform to the Florida Building Code, which is a statewide code, and it can pertain to someone up in the Panhandle that's probably freezing cold right now, or someone here in Southeast Florida. So it's very broad. We also conform to the Miami-Dade product control or the Miami-Dade building code. Why? The Miami-Dade building code has the most stringent code in the United States, and even the Caribbean follow that. So we really go with Miami-Dade product control and or Florida building code to put the products and the safety measures out there to the strongest or to the nth degree. We don't want to do the minimum. We want to go above and beyond. And by conforming to the more stringent code, which may be the Miami-Dade building code, allows us to really go above and beyond. There are specific requirements when it comes to impact windows and doors. Impact windows and doors are mandatory. They are mandatory for all new construction and significant renovations in HVHZ, high velocity hurricane zones, which cover many coastal areas of Florida. So to dive into that for a second, impact windows and doors are mandatory. What I'm missing in my slide, but I'm going to tell you, is that they are mandatory when you're going through a renovation and they are no longer grandfathered into your property. 2004 is a really good judgment as to that grandfathered in period. So the second you make a structural alteration to a window or door opening, they must be brought up to the current building code. Okay. New construction requires impact windows and doors or an approved non-impact window and door with an approved covering, aka a shutter system. So the point of the story is that you need hurricane protection if you're going to make a change. If you're going to close the door and fold the book closed and put it out of sight, out of mind, that's one thing. All of you board members on this Zoom or webinar here, you all have fiduciary responsibilities to your community association. So we can't just close our eyes anymore and shove, an engineer report in our desk. We got to take action here because safety is the biggest thing. Unfortunately, we experienced some really unfortunate stuff in Surfside, and a lot of that had to do with, as sad as it sounds, is people just closing their eyes and what I like to call punting and saving items for down the road that they either don't want to spend the money on now or they can't afford to do. So that's why we have milestone inspections now and structural reserve studies, and that's a whole nother topic. But the point of the story is that if you're going to make a structural alteration, you must bring it up to the current building code. So the question I get asked all the time is, the windows and doors belong to the unit owners. It's their responsibility. Or the unit, or the windows and doors are common property and they belong to the association. Well, let's use the example of them belonging to the unit owners because that's more of a common thing we see. So what happens is you have a concrete restoration project going on. And in order for the concrete restoration company to do their job properly, they need to remove a sliding glass door out of an opening, out of a balcony. So when they remove the sliding glass door because the concrete underneath it and the waterproofing is bad, now the question comes up to say, can that sliding glass door go back into that opening? Well, how old is it? When was it installed? Was a permit pulled for it? Does it meet the current building code? Is an engineer prepared to sign off on the fact that that system that may or may not be inferior at this point in time is safe to go back into that opening? So a lot of the time what happens is finger pointing. Well, the association says, hey, we have to remove your sliding glass door to do the concrete repair properly. The unit owner says, well, then pay for it. The association says, well, it's your responsibility. And now you can't put that door back in because it was installed back in 2002 and it doesn't meet the current building code. So, oh, by the way, you need to purchase a new sliding glass door. So what happens here is, and this is again a whole nother conversation, is whose responsibility is it? Well, they need to maintain a safe structure and have a fiduciary responsibility to do so, but the unit owner doesn't want to spend the money and or can't afford to do it at that point in time. So there are ways to get creative to help the unit owners out in bringing their specific unit sliding glass door, if need be, up to the building code. We can ask all the questions we want about that, and I'd be happy to dive into that, but that's a very sensitive topic. These windows and doors must be able to withstand high winds and flying debris, reducing the risk of injury and property damage during storms. The number one thing that we try to look out for here is not necessarily about glass breaking and shattering. Impact windows and doors are no different than the front windshield of your car. The glass breaks, but it stays together as one piece. It cracks, it has a spider web. You could be driving on I-95 in the pouring rain with your windshield wipers on and no water comes inside. That's what we're looking to achieve. So the big piece of this here is structural integrity. We want to make sure that these windows and doors are properly installed into the structure so that they do not get blown out or sucked in. So that's through the use of proper fastening techniques and different types of framing structure. So then the next question sometimes comes up and says, hey, I have sliding glass doors in my home, or I have windows in my home. I want impact glass in them. Well, what are you trying to achieve? Well, they're going to be impact resistant. No, they're not. There's two components. Component A is the glass, no doubt. Component B is the structural integrity. And how well is that frame built to withstand today's current building code requirement, which is 175 mile per hour wind speed. So then we get into compliance and documentation requirements. Builders and contractors must obtain permits from local building departments before installing impact windows and doors. How many times have we seen a property have a survey come in or an owner's rep or a project manager come in before a big restoration or window and door project and say, those windows are impact, those windows are non-impact, those windows are non-impact, blah, 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 and a unit owner say, nope, they're impact. Well, we don't have any documentation on that here in the office at the association. Oh, that's because, we did it a long time, blah, blah. No, it's because you never pulled a permit to do it, and there's no record of it. And because of that, we're going to need to remove them and install them, and you're going to have to pay for that. So permits, big to do. Please do not allow any construction to go on unless a permit is physically on site, as well as a notice of commencement, two separate documents. The permitting process ensures that the installation meets all safety and performance standards outlined in the Florida Building Code. It protects you and it protects us. There is no reason to not get a permit. As simple as it sounds. Is there a cost for it? Absolutely. That's how the city makes money. Please, permits are a must. I will tell you, if a building code compliance officer shows up to a job site and sees work going on and asks for the permit for it because he had a bad day when he woke up and said, I'm going to be a pain in the butt when I'm working today, and he sees work going on without a permit, he will red tag the property. That project will need to shut down until a permit has been pulled for that project, and a fine will be associated as well. Homeowners undertaking renovations must also comply with these regulations to avoid increased insurance rate and ensure their properties are protected. Simple. Homeowners can't just do renovations on their own. You have a homeowner who's doing a remodel at your property. They need to have their contractor pull permits and provide you documentation. Not only do they need to provide documentation of the permit, but they also need to provide you all of the insurance documents that their contractor is going to need to furnish, because liability is what we are trying to reduce here. Identifying safety risks. So there are common safety hazards during installation. As simple as it sounds, they're safety hazards for both the contractor working as well as the members of the association and the people walking around that active job site. So on our end, manual handling and lifting of material. Installing impact windows and doors often involves heavy lifting, which can lead to injury, lower back, someone can get cut, someone can get hit in the head, the metal is raw, the glass is sharp. So on our end, what we need to do is go through proper safety measures to ensure that our workers are not getting hurt on a job site. We talk about OSHA. On a day like yesterday, we have an active project going on in Hollywood Beach through the use of swing stages. It is a 15 or 16-story building. The winds were up to 25 or 30 miles per hour. You cannot have a contractor on the facade of your building working off of a swing stage if the wind speed is in excess of X. Let's call it 20 miles an hour, just as an example. It's dangerous. The swing stages are swinging around, no different than a swing at a park. Contractors want to work. We want to work, but we also don't want to put ourselves at risk. We only get paid if we work. And there shouldn't be pressure from an association to say, oh, it doesn't look too windy out there, but when a gust of wind is 35 miles an hour, it's dangerous. So the big piece of this also is that during these types of projects in the contracts, it calls out a lot of the time for liquidated damages. So if I miss a day on a 300-day work schedule and I'm at 301 days, I'm paying you for that day that I go over at whatever rate was negotiated when we negotiated the contract, unless documentation is on file of why we missed that day. So this is now about documenting rain delay, weather delay, um, you know, no access to a unit. Unit owner was giving us a hard time. Management couldn't pull the keys. Whatever it is, point of the story is documentation is key to reduce the exposure. Um, when we deal with windows and doors, obviously people get cut. Handling of glass and other material can result in cuts, punctures if proper safety gear is not used. Right, so our team is wearing gloves. Our team is wearing hard hats. Our team is wearing goggles. Um, we want to use the proper PPE equipment to reduce one of our technicians getting hurt on a job site. There are different there are different techniques to assess risk. So there are hazard identifications. So we are regularly inspecting the work site to identify potential hazards such as unstable ladders, sharp objects, and heavy loads. Daily safety meetings documented so that when and if someone does get hurt, you went through the proper safety guidelines in an effort to reduce the risk of someone getting hurt. As crazy as this sounds, I'm sure everyone has seen a ladder resting or propped up on the side of a building. If OSHA comes by and sees that, it's a $10,000 fine to the contractor. As silly as that sounds. I'm going to rest my ladder up there because I got to grab something really quick, and OSHA happens to pull up. $10,000 fine. There are job safety analysis done. So conduct a detailed analysis of each step in the installation process to identify risk and implement control measures. So we have a schedule of tasks that we go through on a daily basis to ensure that we are minimizing risk. You're going to hear minimizing risk and liability throughout this entire presentation. And of course, the use of proper PPE equipment. So like I said, gloves, safety glasses, harnesses, hard hats, all of the guards on grinders with grinder blades, handles on chipping hammers, all of those things that we should be doing that so simply sometimes don't get done because a contractor is in a hurry to finish their task because of the pressure that they have on them. Best practices. So, as I said, safety checks. So this is pre-installation. So pre-installation safety checks. Again, use it for any project. It doesn't have to be a window and door project, but ensure proper permits and approvals. Verify all the necessary permits and approvals are obtained before starting the installation. If you're doing a project in a cafe that you have at your condominium association or at your pool deck, and it has a fryer that has grease, and you're going to all of a sudden start doing demo. You don't only need a permit to do the work, you also need a permit from the Department of Health to make sure that you're not exposing any grease or chemicals into the atmosphere. So it's not just a building permit. There may be other types of permits that you need. When we come in and we have a large load of windows that we need to bring up to a parking deck because our trucks can't go up there, we need a crane. We need a permit to block the street for the crane to sit on the street for 5 or 6 hours. So we need a right-of-way permit. So there are different types of permits out there as well that are required. Inspecting the worksite. Got to come in and conduct a thorough inspection of the worksite to identify and address any potential hazards. Making sure that guardrails are up, making sure that caution tape is up. What types of issues or what types of other work are going on a job site? Is there concrete restoration? And has the concrete restoration company, cut out a big chunk of concrete and, it's a trip hazard. So inspecting the work site and making sure that it's a safe place. And then doing proper safety training regularly, internally. So ensuring that all workers have received adequate safety training and understand the safety protocol specific to the installation of impact windows and doors. People get hurt. Um, I'll give you a quick story. Quick story is we were removing windows at a job site that had original, let's call it annealed glass. Annealed glass is sharp glass. It's not tempered glass that breaks up into little pieces. It's sharp glass that leaves shards. Uh, Glass broke. Contractor, subcontractor went to pass his hammer out to the guy on the outside from the inside, and at the same time, one of the pieces of glass that was maybe 4 or 5 inches fell and caught him right on a major vein on his arm. Terrible. Just accident. Accidents happen. So we try to have those types of conversations internally from a window and door installation aspect to say, here's proper ways to handle the glass. Here are proper ways to dispose of the glass. Don't just take a piece of glass and throw it in a dumpster so that it explodes and goes everywhere. Because that's now talking about the safety of not only us, but that's talking about the safety of the property itself. We don't want glass all over someone's parking lot and someone stepping on it. So safety training is a huge thing. And we really feel strongly about that. Just real quick internally, what we do from a safety training standpoint is we offer our technicians continuing education on a regular basis, not only from a safety standpoint, but from an installation standpoint. And some of our partner manufacturers will have us at their factories to go through, let's call it continuing education on the installation and or service side of the window and door business. So the technicians are factory trained and they're also able to get continuing education, not credits, but continuing education from the factories and some best practice techniques on the installation side as well. So part two of this is how do we keep a project safe while we're physically working there? So that's through the use again of personal protective equipment. We're ensuring that all of our workers are wearing appropriate equipment, gloves, safety glasses, hard hats, harnesses. We're doing safety checks of the roof. We're using swing stages. We're using mast climbers. We're going to the roof every day, making sure the cables aren't frayed, making sure the cables are properly installed into the substrate so that if and when an accident were to happen, the proper safety measures may be put into place. Safe handling of materials and tools, use proper lifting techniques and handling procedures to prevent injuries, making sure tools are in good condition and used correctly. Same thing. If OSHA shows up to a project and sees an extension cord with a frayed piece of wire on it, they are going to tell you that you cannot use that and there is a fine. Why? Because it can start a fire, it could spark, whatever it may be. Securing the work area using barriers, posted placards, signage to secure the work area and keep residents and other non-essential personnel away from the installation site. People are curious. They want to know what is going on and or they want to manage the project. What happened here? Hold on, sorry. Oh no, what happened?
Did you freeze up?
Oh, are you there still? It said that I got logged out. Are we still there?
I still see you, and I still see the slide that says "Best Practices Part 2" on the screen right now.
Amazing, amazing, because it told me I got logged out. I'm sorry. Here we
You're
are.
here. You're here. We're here.
Awesome. Thank you. So, people are curious. People want to manage. People want to know what's going on at their properties. They're paying good money and they want to help out and pick up a piece of trash or whatever it may be. That's awesome. We really appreciate that. But if you get hurt and or someone gets hurt while doing that, we're all in big trouble. So securing the work area, making sure that there's caution tape, there are cones, there are OSHA signs. We're working on a project right now on the West Coast in Longboat Key where they have floor to ceiling windows in their bedrooms. Every single one of them leaked, which is why they hired us to replace them. But what happens is that we have to remove them and waterproof the opening before the new one could come in. It takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours for the waterproofing to cure. So there is a hole, a giant hole, floor to ceiling in their bedroom that cannot have a window go in it for about 2 hours. Major safety concern. Someone sleepwalks during the day. Someone wants to get curious and walk over there and see the opening and the waterproofing quality job we did and slips. Big problem. So we have signs that say do not enter. We have plywood that goes up to secure the work area. We have a makeshift rail system that goes in so that we are doing our best to maintain a safe work area. After the installation is done, we also have safety measures that we must comply with. We have final inspections. Final inspections are not only from the city, but also a representative from the association. So conducting a final inspection, a final walkthrough to ensure all work has been completed safely and to the required standards. The standard is the minimum standard. If you know me, you know we don't do the minimum. The minimum is just the bare minimum. You have to go above and beyond and think outside the box and say, what can possibly go wrong here? And how can we reduce the ability for that to transpire? Making sure, so when you get your final inspections, that permit card needs to be closed out. It needs to be left with the association. You at that time are going to want to get all of your closeout documents. So you're going to want to get warranty information, care and maintenance, right? When it comes to cleaning windows and doors, it's not like, hey, let's use WD-40 and spray it all over the sliding glass door track to make it slide better. Well, that's actually going to make it slide worse because that's an oil-based. So, you know, our care and maintenance instructions would say something to the extent of use a silicone-based spray so that the sand and soot and dirt and debris don't attach to it and it's cleanable. Same thing with cleaning of the paint finish, right? You have a responsibility to have your windows and doors cleaned, wiped down. When you don't, and you live in a highly corrosive salt air environment, you're exposing that paint to break down at a rapid rate. So wiping it down with soap and water instead of someone coming in and using some crazy solvent that they're not supposed to use. Those are the types of final inspections and closeout packages you should be looking for. Cleaning up and the debris removal, this should be obvious, but ensuring that all debris and waste materials are properly disposed of to prevent hazards. You can't just take a can of paint, as everybody knows, and throw it in a trash bag. There is a proper way to dispose of paint. In our world, glass. You can't just take a large, sharp piece of glass and put it in a garbage bag and throw it in the trash or leave it at the curb for the garbage man or woman to come and pick it up and slice their hand. There are proper ways to dispose of material. Identifying them, labeling them, tagging them, whatever it may be. Also, verifying compliance with safety standards, checking that all of the installation methods meet and are relevant to the safety standards and building codes. Here's one. Not many of you may know this, but when you have a window that opens more than 4 inches and you have a finished floor height to the bottom of that windowsill below, let's use a round number, 40 inches. I want to say the code requires 36. But let's say that you have a window that is the bottom of it is 36 inches off of the finished floor. That window can only open 4 inches. Why? Because if it opens more than 4 inches, the building code is suggesting someone can fall out of that window. So these are things to know when, you know, we say to you, hey, we're replacing the windows in your bedroom, but you know your windowsill height is really low and your property was built way back when the code didn't require it to be 36 inches. So I just want to let you know your windows are only going to open 4 inches, and the building department is going to come there and they're going to take a tape measure and check that that window has a limit latch or a stopper on it and is only allowed to open and close 4 inches. So I want to talk here for a second about communication and coordination. This is the biggest piece to ensuring a safe project. Communicating safety protocols to contractors. What I will tell you is I can read you all of this information and I will, but here is the way to make this as smooth as possible through communication, through having a town hall meeting with the residents before the project starts. We're about to start a large project in Tampa. 132 unit owners are going to be compromised at some point for a certain period of time. They're curious. I'd rather tell them the worst case scenario a month before we start so that they can plan in advance for it than show up to their home and say, you're shit out of luck for the next week. And oh, by the way, I should have told you this a month ago, but I forgot to. So having a town hall, letting the contractor come in, explain who they are, what their process is, what the unit owner's expectations should be, how long it's going to take, how messy is it, how loud is it, how long am I going to be out of commission. That's something to do in the way beginning before you start a project and you property managers and board members getting complaints. So I highly recommend the town hall. That brings us back to communication. So communicating safety protocols to contractors. You clearly need to communicate all safety protocols and expectations to the contractors before the start of the project. You as property managers have rules and regulations. Safety or not, you cannot use my bathrooms. You need to provide your own bathrooms. You cannot use our vending machines. If you would like to have, lunchtime, have it. Here's the time and here's where you guys can go in a safe place. Guys and girls can go in a safe place and you can eat your lunch. And oh, by the way, don't leave a mess. These are the types of expectations that property managers and contractors should have with one another before the start of a project. Regularly reviewing safety practices with the installation team. So daily we have a safety meeting in the morning before we go up and ride the swing stage. Safety meeting. You have your harness, you have your goggles, you have your hard hat, you have your lanyard, you have your rope grab, you're ready to go. Checking the equipment, making sure it's safe. We have those meetings daily. I suggest the association, along with the owner's rep or project manager, if there is one, and the contractor meet weekly and or every other week to go through safety measures as well as installation schedules, because communicating to a resident well in advance of when we're going to be inside their home working is a lot better than knocking on their door at 8 a.m., waking them up and saying, get out. So regular meetings are a must. Coordinating with residents to minimize disruptions, informing them about the installation schedule and any potential disruptions. As I said, saying to them, hey, on a Tuesday morning meeting that we have every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. at a project in Hollandale Beach, we are giving them next week and the following week schedules so they can notify the residents. This building is a condominium association, and it is 95% Airbnb. They allow that. So they have different tenants in there weekly and or monthly. We got to communicate to the unit owner who's renting out their unit that this is when we anticipate being in their unit. They may choose to take it off the market for that period of time, because why would they want a renter in there who's going to leave a bad review because there was a construction project going on inside the home that they rented for the week? So clear communication. Things happen, weather, access, whatever it may be. So you pad it out maybe a day or two. Say, hey, we're going to be there next Thursday and Friday. We may get there Wednesday. So providing clear instructions on how to stay safe during the installation process. As I mentioned, people are curious. We're working in someone's floor-to-ceiling window in their bedroom. You cannot go in your bedroom until we are done and tell you it is okay to go back in there. We break for lunch for an hour. We ride the swing stage down. That unit's vacant. Resident, you cannot go inside your bedroom until we tell you it is safe to go back in. Documenting and reporting procedures for safety incidences. Again, documenting everything. You're establishing or you have previously established procedures for documenting and reporting any safety incidents or near misses with the property manager, with the insurance company, on file with the engineer, whatever it may be. And then lastly, ensuring that all incidences are investigated and appropriate corrective actions are taken. Accidents happen. Why did it happen? What can we do better next time to make sure that this type of accident doesn't happen again? So this is for you community association managers. We're almost at an end here. So the role of the manager, the responsibility of the CAM in overseeing the installation of any type of project. So overseeing the installation process it is great, and it's ensuring that it is compliant with safety protocols and building codes. I feel for each and every one of you property managers. I know what a difficult job you have. I've seen it. I've been there. It's not your job to manage a construction project by any means. If any board member or any resident tells you you're the manager and you need to go check on the contractor, it's not right. You have enough on your plate and then some. Your role is to not manage a project. However, your role is to manage the people that the board has contracted with. And when I say that, I don't necessarily mean the workers in the field. I mean, if you have an owner's rep or a project manager, that is your line of communication. You're going to them. They are then dispersing the information to the subcontractors. So please don't find yourselves being the construction manager as well as the property manager, but do still ensure that safety protocols are in place. Where property managers do really come into handy is the coordination, right? They're the ones, if you have an owner's rep, which side note and free commercial, I recommend them highly because it takes a lot off of the manager's plate. They should be the ones communicating to the project manager and saying, what keys do you need pulled by security for Monday morning so that when the contractor shows up at 8 a.m., he or she is ready to go. That's the conversation. It's not, hey, I'm going to go open up 6 units for you at my own time. It's not time efficient for the manager. So it's the coordination, it's the communication to the residents, to the other shareholders to facilitate a smooth execution of the project. Best practices for managing contractor relationships: establish clear communication channels and maintain regular contact with contractors. Look, I have a lot of property managers, even some of you on the Zoom, a lot of your cell phone numbers. I'm not calling you at 8 o'clock on a Friday night, but I am going to call you and or you're going to call me when there's an emergency. So I recommend for a project having your 911 list. It's your property manager, it's your security, head of security, it may be your head of valet, it may be the engineer, it may be a building code official. Have your list, your hot list of people to call in the event of a issue. Setting expectations for performance and safety standards. Look, we say we're going to do something, you got to do it. We're going to be in your unit on Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. Rest assured, weather permitting, we will be there. Well, we got to be there. Why? Because that hotel that we're working in has that room rented out on Wednesday. And if we don't give it back to them on Tuesday, they're losing revenue. So creating and setting expectations and really good communication is key, as I keep saying. Ensuring ongoing safety and compliance, conducting regular safety audits and inspections. OSHA does show up to properties unannounced and they will audit. Insurance companies come and they will want to do an audit of your tools. And they will say, empty your truck. I want to see every extension cord and every grinder and that has a guard on it, so on and so forth. And they will take a checklist and provide it back to the insurance carrier. And the insurance carrier at that point will make a determination of if they want to continue to insure you because you're a safe contractor or if they're going to raise your rates because you're doing things that are a little dangerous, where they may be exposed to a claim. Stay updated on changes in safety regulations and building code. The building code changes every 3 years. That is what you need to know. The building code changes every 3 years. And that's all I've got for you on my end, but I do have as much time in the world as you would like for questions, comments, so on and so forth.
Thanks so much, Ben. We do have some questions in the chat, a couple of them.
Sure.
Ben, first,
I
before
just
you
want to
get
make
to
sure.
that, I just want to say thank you, Ben, for really a really comprehensive, great program. I can tell you from firsthand experience, I've had the pleasure of working with Ben and his company, and they are remarkable. They keep the job site clean, everything's tidy, everything's neat, everything's tight. They absolutely take great care to make sure that your community schedules, rooms, and the work that's being done is as convenient as possible. They communicate really effectively. So as long as you all communicate effectively to your residents, your communication piece with Ben and his people will be pristine. So
So
I could go on and on, Ben. I just really want to thank you publicly
well,
for
well,
everything.
I want to thank you for that and the opportunity to work at the association that you're suggesting. But I also want to add in there that as lovely as what Lisa had to say and flattered as I am, things do happen on job sites and projects, and it's really more about how you handle them and how time efficiently and effectively you can handle them, because there are things that just are unavoidable. We're going through something right now at a property where there's permits that were maybe on certain projects, were never pulled and work was done, and an inspector shows up and says, we're not closing your permit out. Well, how do we handle that? We work together with the association to try to get to the bottom of it and see what needs to be done to allow us to close our permit out. So things happen, accidents happen. You know, we're in the glass business. Glass breaks. You're in the egg business. Eggs break every day. How quickly can we have a new piece of glass manufactured and installed? And or did we create the expectation to the end user that it's okay for impact glass to break? Because once it breaks, no water is still going to come in. So yeah, it might not look the best at your property, but it's functional and it's going to keep you in a safe place. Yeah, we're going to order a new piece, but we've created the expectation early on that, hey, if this happens, it's perfectly fine. We know you're not happy about it, but we're on it. So I thank you, Lisa. And I
You
just
just highlighted my point. It's all about communication, and
shit happens,
whatever
and
happens,
yeah,
you work it out. It's not an adversarial issue. It's a team approach, and it's about the communication. And it's not a perfect world, and it's definitely not. I don't know that any project goes off perfectly without a hitch, but the communication and what you do about it and how you handle it, both the association and the vendor, what that looks like, right? So I wanted to sing your praises a little bit because we have had some
thank you.
challenges and we have had some things that have happened, not to your fault or ours, but we've both had to kind of look and scratch our head and say, now what? So, but we've worked
It
really well
happened,
together,
yeah.
and I appreciate, again, the communication and all of that. I must run, so forgive me while you answer questions. Have a beautiful day. And again, Ben, thank you so
You
much
too, thanks.
for educating our ACE community. And thank you all 85 of you that have shown up. It's been a great presentation by Ben, and we're very blessed and very happy that you're part of our community. Have a beautiful
Thank you.
day.
Thanks, Lisa. And thanks, Ben. Before
You're
we do
welcome.
get to questions, I want to make sure you guys know that the evaluation link is in the chat. So make sure you open that up and complete it when you have a chance. We'll get to a couple questions. We had a lot of thank yous, a lot of very informative, great class. So I'm glad you guys are enjoying the information and finding it really relevant. So just a couple questions. First from Anne, can you not have the option for shutters instead? And she adds when doing a remodel.
Um, you can get shutters. You can. I can tell you that they're so I'll ask a question if you want to answer in the chat. Is it for a condominium or is it for a single family residence? And I'll answer both. But in a single family residence, I mean, you can do whatever you want, right? I mean, you live in an HOA. If the HOA allows shutters, great, you could have them. But all they do is they block from flying debris. That's all they do. Um, if something happens to hit the shutter, it bounces off. The bigger concern is the structural integrity and how the window frame is installed into the substrate so it doesn't get blown out or sucked in. We've gone into properties after storms back in like 2016. I want to say it was Hurricane Irma. I could be wrong. 2018. Fully shuttered building, Hollywood Beach, called Summit Towers. Great property. They gave us a ton of work. 25, 30-story building, shuttered, 40-year-old windows. We show up after the storm, glass everywhere inside people's homes. Everywhere.
Hmm.
Why? Because the shutter is on the building and there's a space between the shutter and the window. The window has glass in it from 40 years ago. A hurricane, this is a whole nother class that I give, so stay tuned. A hurricane is a pressure system. The pressure builds up in between the shutter and the window. Pressure has to escape.
Yeah.
It either rips the shutter off the face of the building or it blows the glass to the inside of the unit. Then what happens? Air and water still can get inside. And then if it's a single family residence, pressure builds up and lifts the roof off. These are extreme cases, but this is my sell against shutters.
Yeah.
The answer in a quicker answer is going to be new construction requires non-impact window with impact shutter or impact window. Renovation, you can put a shutter up if you're needing to do so.
And Ben, pardon my voice here. I'm fighting something, as you're aware. And did reply that it's for a condominium where they have not outlawed shutters.
So I'm glad that Anne replied because one of my other points was going to be the way that a shutter is installed in any opening. But let's use the condominium as an example. Is it's installed into the face of into the shear wall. Okay.
Yeah.
You have now created lots and lots of penetrations into the building for the anchors of the shutter frame. Those anchors are typically just a steel screw or a zinc screw. No one uses expensive stuff like we use in sliding glass doors and windows. So that rusts and corrodes inside the building and creates major concrete issues. So when concrete restoration projects are going on, the engineers out there are encouraging buildings to get rid of their shutters because the penetrations there's so many and can be so old that they're allowing air and water to get inside of the building. You're on mute, Jeff.
Thank you. Yes. Have to cover up that coughing. William's asking, do the same rules apply
Baby head
as
in the
I
box.
need to pull the shutter for concrete repair? I'm not sure.
Yes.
He needs to
Yes.
reinstall the shutter, to reinstall it.
Yeah, same rules apply. And your engineer, whether it be Falcon, who's a partner to this group here, or one of their competitors, so be it. They will be the ones to suggest that shutter can go back on, or that it should not. And if it does go back on, it may require additional anchors that it didn't have when it was first manufactured.
Okay. Let's see here. Apologies if this is repetitive. I haven't gone through these as diligently as I would have hoped. It is just that I thought you said that if you were replacing, you had to use new windows. We want to stop shutters, but this is a bone of contention. Your answer is very helpful, and I want to take it back to my board. So thank you very much. Great comment. Thank you, Anne. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Marielle, you see any others here, please, before I have another coughing fit?
Let's see. Well, we have Pamela who just said, shutters cause concrete damages, costing hundreds of thousands of dollars for the association repairs. Shutters should be outlawed. I guess everyone has their own experiences too.
Yeah, they're very rare. I mean, when I first came to Florida and started the window business, it was in 2006. There was a shutter guy or girl on every corner. It was shutters. I don't see it. I don't see any anymore. I don't know who does them. Don't ask. I said use me as a resource, but not for that. I do not know one shutter person. I really don't.
And folks, this is not to be confused. We're talking about exterior shutters for bad weather, not
Storm
to be
shutters, not
confused with,
plantation.
yeah, we're not to be confused with interior decorations like plantation shutters or anything like that. This is not the same thing.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. And then, William asked this, the shutter being replaced also require a permit. And again, Ben is
Yes,
suggesting that he's not but okay. All right, there you go.
yes, absolutely. Shutters require permits. Absolutely.
Awesome. And I know that Jeff did put Ben's email into the chat in case you guys have further questions, later on or, down the road. So please utilize that.
Yeah, and after you click the link in the chat and fill out the evaluation, the confirmation screen of a successful submission also will have Ben's website as well as his contact information after you fill out the required evaluation. And if you need some slides or any other class questions, you can utilize Ben's contact info, and I'm sure he'll be happy to assist you and your association in any way possible.
For sure.
All right. Folks, this will be on our website. The recording of this video will be on the Ace by TSK website within a few days, as well as our last boardroom, which is not yet on there. I'm a little bit late getting that on there. That'll be on there too within a couple of days. As I was in the path of that nasty snowstorm, even though it missed us, we had to prep for it where I'm located. And as I understand it, those of you in Florida, you're going to be near freezing this Sunday. Is
It's
that correct?
chilly. It's a little
Yeah.
chilly.
Oh,
Now we
Yeah.
are going to get down, I think, to 32 maybe on, I want to say Sunday.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I hope you have your CitiQuiet Impact windows and doors to keep the cold out.
That's right. Not
For
only do
real.
they provide hurricane protection, but they're great for insulation as well.
Absolutely. Turn that home
Well,
theater volume up, baby. There you go.
I know we'll be staying inside.
All
All
right.
right, guys. Thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate you. Like I said, we'll be in person on February 3rd in West Palm Beach in case of anybody who's local. Other than that, we will hope to see you next month.